All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Coming Off the Bench. Welcome to the show, everybody. Sorry for not uploading the last couple of days. I've just been very busy with both school and work, so I apologize about not uploading, but hopefully you guys haven't missed, too much with me being gone. But did want to say first of all, before we get into today's episode, it's going to be a little bit short today, but I did want to say thank you to everybody who has viewed the Ravens reaction from Sunday. Thank you to all of you who have either subscribed or liked that video. Thank you for all of your support. I think we gained like 15 or 20 new subscribers from that video, so just an insane amount of people and support. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for your interaction and your support from that video. But anyway, I just wanted to go on and talk about a couple of topics here for today's show. I know it's not we're not doing the show usually at the normal time around 11 o'clock, but a lot of stuff just came about today, so it's been pretty hectic today. But I did want to start to talk about last night's Thursday night game with the Chicago Bears putting an absolute beatdown on the Washington Commanders. The Commanders, suddenly after going 2-0 to start the season, they've now lost three straight. To the Bills, Eagles, and now the Bears. So they're in a little bit of a rut now. Riverboat Ron is now turned into more of like a Driftwood Ron, you could say. Just absolutely not taking advantage of a 4th and 2 deep in Bears territory in like the middle of the fourth quarter, or like the beginning of the fourth quarter, which the fans booed him, rightfully so in my opinion, because the Bears were or the Commanders were already down two scores, and I think they were at like the 15-yard line, and they're even lucky to be in that situation anyway, because Sam Howell got out of like two sacks in order to like make a 9-yard run in order to make it a 4th and 2 at like the 13-yard line of Chicago. So Ron Rivera continuing to make some interesting, to say the least, decisions regarding late game situations and possible scoring opportunities for the Washington Commanders. But we do have to start, and I think the big story of this game, for me at least, was Justin Fields performing pretty good. Just having a solid, couple of games now. He has back-to-back games. Granted, the last one was against the Broncos, who are not a good football team, but the performance he had last night against the Commanders, over having 278 yards or something like that, close to 300 yards, four tutties, including three to DJ Moore. So DJ Moore finally getting involved in the Bears offense after what seemed to be, heading for disaster with that relationship, after, having been caught on camera talking to other teammates and other teams about how they're not using him correctly. They finally get him more involved in the offense last night, and he goes out there and he performs. He has like over 230 yards and three touchdowns last night, including the final one to seal the game. After the Commanders' defensive back jumped the route trying to make a play, and instead he got burned, and DJ Moore took it to the house to close the game away for the Chicago Bears. And I think this was the Bears' first game that they won in 14 games, which is pretty insane to think about. Granted, the Browns didn't win for over 700 days or 635 days. So we sort of have a little bit of a connection with that. But yeah, I mean, Justin Fields had a pretty good performance last night. Now this is his second straight game where he's had a good performance. Last game against the Broncos, he threw that interception that sort of sealed the game for the Broncos, and caused the Bears to lose. They were up like, I think, 28-7 at one point too, against the Broncos, and they just absolutely collapsed. I think that's both an offensive and defensive collapse on that part, if you ask me. But finally Justin Fields was looking more comfortable in the pocket. Didn't have to run for his life that much against the Commanders, who had a pretty good defense, or have a pretty good defense. And instead, really, the Chicago Bears got to Sam Howell more than the Commanders' defense got to Justin Fields, which was pretty insane to think about. I think the Commanders got sacked like 5 times. Sam Howell got sacked 5 times, and I think Justin Fields only got sacked twice, or some really small amount. But um, yeah, no, Justin Fields played really well. You could start to see the little the shades of what he did at Ohio State as a Buckeye, and just that confidence coming through. Because Justin Fields, like I said, I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he definitely has some talent. I still think he's going to get traded this offseason because I just do not see how the Bears are going to probably keep Matt Eberflus and their tight end, or not tight end, their GM, and I just don't see how they're going to survive. And Justin Fields isn't. They're already on pace to get, a top 5 pick, 2 top 5 picks. Um, so obviously, uh, obviously Carolina, if they do have the number 1 pick, which they're on the track to get, because they are the worst record in the league, and they're definitely not going to take a quarterback with the first pick if they are the first pick. So you would have to wonder, what's going to go on with Chicago there. So you really have a 3-way tie between the number 1 pick between Chicago, Carolina, and Arizona. Those are your 3 teams that you're essentially looking at for the number 1 pick, at least in contention for this season. You know, I don't know. If I really want to say there should be another team that should be in that mix, who I feel like if they did go for it, they would be a hell of a lot better. I know they're not going to, but I feel like if they were able to go try and tank for that number 1 pick, if I'm the Jets, I would do that, to be honest with you, because I know they're in love with Zach Wilson right now. I know that Robert Saleh and them, they are just infatuated for whatever reason. I don't know if Zach Wilson has incriminating evidence on Robert Saleh or something, but for some reason or another, they are infatuated with Zach Wilson. They believe in him. They think he's going to do some great things in the NFL. They also have Aaron Rodgers, who wants to play next season for them, coming off of that Achilles injury. But if I'm the Jets and I want to think long term in the future, you already have pieces and parts around that roster. You already have Garrett Wilson, who's one of the best up and coming receivers in the league. You probably put him in a top 10 receiver, obviously. You have, a great defense. Got some studs in there. You're just missing a quarterback right now. And if they're thinking that Zach Wilson's going to be their quarterback for the future, I think they're mistaken. I think 95% of people, maybe not even 99% of people around the NFL are thinking that they're absolutely crazy for thinking that Zach Wilson is going to be the answer long term for the New York Jets. I know it's crazy. They're not going to do it. But if I was the New York Jets, I would try and tank for that number 1 pick. But it's not. They're not going to do that because they're delusional. But yeah, so I mean, right now you're going to have to look at Chicago, Carolina, and Arizona as like those 3 teams that are vying for the number 1 pick, which is most likely than not going to be Caleb Williams unless Carolina gets that number 1 pick. So, but yeah, I think Justin Fields did play a good game last night. I think this season, if I'm Justin Fields, if I'm going to try and, for me, if I'm thinking of Justin Fields, this is my like mixtape for teams around the NFL to try and trade for me, because I don't think that the Bears are going to ride with Justin Fields after this year. They may ride with him after this year. They may try and build around him. They may try and see what they can get with him and DJ Moore. They just traded Chase Claypool away to the Dolphins. Chase Claypool, not a good fit for Chicago. Was talking trash the entire time about his coaches and his usage, even though he was not giving 100%, and he admitted so. But now he's going to go to Miami, where he's probably not going to do much of anything. but he's going to be in a winning culture. But they may see what they can try and do with Justin Fields and DJ Moore on offense. They have Roshan Johnson that they just drafted from Texas. Khalil Herbert is a back that they like. So that's like three or four pieces that they have on offense. Maybe even Cole Kmet, their tight end. They like him a lot too. So there's like five pieces on the offensive end that they could try and build around. But if I'm the Bears and if I'm a new regime that's going to be coming in after the season is over, after you fire uh, Pohl and Eberflus, I would try and get Caleb Williams with that number one pick because right now, if I'm the owner of the Bears, if I'm them, you have to start thinking that you're in competition with the Cardinals for Caleb Williams right now. No matter how good Justin Fields played, I definitely think Caleb Williams is going to be a lot better than Justin Fields in his career. Now, right now, Justin Fields has been playing a good couple of games, but like I said, I don't think that long term Justin Fields is going to be the answer for Chicago. I think you have to try and trade him after this season because it's just not going to work out. You probably have already damaged him well enough in Chicago, so you're probably going to have to trade him somewhere else in order for them to, essentially fix him and, fix the damage that Chicago did to Justin Fields. Um, I don't know. I definitely think that they have to start thinking that way, but Justin Fields played a good game yesterday. I can't fault him. I can't really nitpick him with anything. He probably did miss a couple of throws last night to open receivers that probably should have been completions. Um, but I mean, these last two games have been the best games he's played in his NFL career, and I definitely feel like you know if the Bears want to be successful, they have to start thinking about Caleb Williams. And I think that they probably are going to have to talk to Justin Fields and say, hey, you know, we're probably going to ship you off in the offseason. Try and, play as well as you possibly can because, we want to upgrade your draft capital. We want to upgrade, the assets that we could potentially get from you for a trade. And I think that's what they're probably going to have to do in order to get Caleb Williams. And if I'm Chicago, I'm going to focus on Caleb Williams because right now you're not going to win the NFC North. You're not going to make the wild card. I think Caleb Williams is a nice step in the right direction. I think he is better than Justin Fields. And you're already going to be in the thick of it for that number one pick. Might as well go all the way down. But anyway, that is going to be it for the Chicago and Washington thing. Oh, well, actually, no. Let's talk about Sam Howell for a minute. Sam Howell, the joke about Sam Howell is that he is a fat Baker Mayfield, and that really came through yesterday because Sam Howell, I think, is a better runner than Baker was. Because Baker would never run out of he would never take off. He rarely would take off. Sam Howell tried to do a lot of stuff with his legs last night, and he actually did some pretty nice plays with his legs. But yeah, he does remind me of Baker Mayfield. He is like a gunslinger type quarterback. Had a couple of throws. Like there was one throw that he had that to Jahan Dotson, where if it was placed in bounds, like Jahan Dotson was at the 1 yard line. If he caught that in bounds and just reached over, he would have had a touchdown. And I think they settled for a field goal to make it 30-20. But if he threw that ball just really good to Jahan Dotson, it probably would have been a three-point game right there. But he unfortunately didn't. But Sam Howell kind of impressed me last night. He's had a couple of moments. I think that the Bills game is the black mark on his resume right now. But the Bills are going to make anybody look silly unless you're like the top 5 best quarterbacks in the league. They even made Tua look silly last week in that offense look silly. But Sam Howell, has been holding his own. I definitely don't think he's like top 10 or top 15, but I definitely think he's in that like 23 to 17 range. I think he's in that middle tier of the quarterbacks, like where Baker Mayfield is. I definitely see some positive signs from Sam Howell. I don't know if he's going to be like the long term answer for Washington. Um, but he definitely had some sparks. He definitely showed something that has been missing from Washington for quite some time, ever since Kirk Cousins left. So I mean, they tried Alex Smith, but he had that nasty leg injury that derailed his career. Carson Wentz obviously didn't work out last season. Now they have Jacoby Brissett as the backup. He hasn't played at all. So I mean, Sam Howell's really been or they had Taylor Heineke too the last couple of years. Hasn't worked out. He's in Carolina as the backup now. So I know, yeah, he's in. No, he's not in Carolina. Where is he at? Where is Taylor Heineke at? I don't remember, or he's in Atlanta. That's where he's at. He's in Atlanta. But you know, Sam Howell, I think, can definitely be a decent quarterback in the league. I think he's probably going to be more of a journeyman. I can see him more as like a Jacoby Brissett type in the league, as his future. Definitely like start out as a starter, but then end up as like a career backup. Definitely see that happen with Sam Howell. I definitely feel like he is a good quarterback, not a great one, but he's decent. Probably can get you to like 7 or 8 wins. Um, but yeah, I definitely feel like Sam Howell played pretty decent last night. He did take a lot of sacks. That offensive line was terrible for him last night. He probably should have been sacked more than he was sacked last night, to be honest with you. But he played. I think he played decently enough. He did miss a couple of throws. Like I said, that one to Jahan Dotson in the fourth quarter, I think, where that drive ended in a field goal. If he just placed that ball inbounds more perfect, that's an easy touchdown for Jahan Dotson. And maybe this game could have been changed from there on. You have more momentum for the Commanders. Who knows how that game would have ended? But yeah, I think we're gonna end the Chicago Washington segment there. Let's move on to something that I've been interested to talk about with the Cleveland Browns, and that is the rumor going around that the Cleveland Browns, or at least not rumor, but the discussion topic of the week with the Browns is, should the Browns go after Jonathan Taylor? Now, Jonathan Taylor came back early on this week to the Indianapolis Colts practice facility. They activated him off the PUP list, physically unable to perform list, because of his holdout with the Colts for a new contract. And now he's practicing. We still don't know if he's going to play on Sunday, but he's practicing with the Colts. He's suiting up for the Colts. And obviously the discussion around the Browns and Jonathan Taylor is, well, now that you have Nick Chubb out for the year with multiple ligament tears, and Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, Pierre Strong, they haven't really done anything to really get the running game going in the last couple of games. Do you go out and try to trade for a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who a couple of years ago led the league with over 1,800 yards of rushing? My thing is that an argument that I heard from Mary Kay Cabot, and I think that she does make a good point with this type of argument, is that there is only one Nick Chubb, right? Like Nick Chubb is one of one. He is a unicorn. It's like you can maybe say like him and Derrick Henry and one other person, and Christian McCaffrey. They're all like unique unicorns that like only they can perform the way they perform, right? But you have a opportunity right now to get a guy who is not Nick Chubb. He's not Christian McCaffrey, but in the same mold, he can be as effective as a Nick Chubb, but he doesn't bring the same intangibles as someone like Nick Chubb, if that makes any sense. And the way that she worded that, I can kind of agree with that, because you don't have the opportunity like every day to get a top 5 running back on the market like Jonathan Taylor. Plus, I think if they try and go for him right now, he'd be a lot cheaper to trade for than he would have been, say, before the season started, when this whole thing came out with him and Jim Irsay and the whole running back fiasco that was been going on. I think he's definitely a lot cheaper and a lot Um, like you can spend a lot more or a lot less assets in order to get him. But the problem is that he wants a new contract. Well, the thing is that Nick Chubb is going to be ready by next season. We don't know when next season, but he's going to be ready by next season, supposedly. At least that's what the Browns have been saying. Well, next season could be November, December, January, even. Who knows even if Nick Chubb is going to be fully 100% by the time he comes back, right? Well, the problem is that if you get Jonathan Taylor, you're essentially admitting that he's going to be a 1 or 2 year rental while Nick Chubb recovers. But the problem is that also Jonathan Taylor is younger than Nick Chubb. He doesn't have the injury, the severe injury that Nick Chubb had. He's on maybe fresher tires than Nick Chubb. But the problem is that the money is going to be the biggest issue regarding Jonathan Taylor. And I just don't know if the Browns are going to be as all in on a running back as, say, they would be for someone like a wide receiver, like maybe Devontae Adams. Um, Now, personally, would I want to get Jonathan Taylor? I think if you have the opportunity to and you can get a deal that is more beneficial for you in the long term, or maybe not in the long term, but in the short term, and doesn't cost you multiple high end draft picks, maybe you put in a player instead of a draft pick. Maybe you throw in like a second round pick and Jerome Ford, or a second round pick and someone and another player, maybe like a backup player, maybe even another starter somewhere, someone that they view highly on the Colts. I definitely think that's a possibility and something that they should look at, really, because right now Jerome Ford I don't think is a terrible running back. He's not Nick Chubb, and the problem is that with Browns fans, I think are expecting is for Jerome Ford to be like Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is not coming back. He's not coming back this year. Nick Chubb and the carries and the production that he can give a team, like Nick Chubb can find holes where he should be stopped. Like if he was any other back, he would be stopped in the backfield, but instead he takes a no gainer into like 3 yards. The problem with Jerome Ford is that Jerome Ford can like maybe do that once in a while. He has some intangibles that I think are similar to Chubb, and where he like once he gets downhill, he's gone. But the fact is that he's not Nick Chubb. He's more like every other running back that you see around the league. That's one thing I think Browns fans have not grappled with well enough to really think about how Jerome Ford is not going to give you 150 yards, or 100 yards every game. He's just not going to do that. Now, do I think that he's been utilized enough in order to maybe give him more of a better shot to maybe show that he can be? No, I don't think Stefanski in the last couple of games has probably utilized him as well or as enough as I would like. But the thing is that he's not going to give you like 120 yards almost every game like Nick Chubb is. And when I hear Browns fans talk about how, Jerome Ford and company are not performing in a way that they are expecting when like they're expecting like Nick Chubb production levels. Well, yeah, obviously they're not going to perform to that level because Nick Chubb is one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the league. Now, I think Christian McCaffrey this season has overtaken that title because he's just so versatile, but they're expecting Nick Chubb levels of production from guys that just are not on that level at all. But with Jonathan Taylor, I definitely think that he can give you more of a boost. He's not going to give you Nick Chubb type of production, but he's going to give you close enough to where you're going to be more comfortable having him on the team if rather than not having him on the team. If you think, you don't want to put that much investment into a running back and you want to go one dimensional on this offense with putting the ball in Deshaun's hands, it's all on Deshaun. Amari Cooper is there, DPJ, Elijah Moore. You want to focus more on them and have them have more pressure. And Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong, it is what it is. I mean, Andrew Berry wants to do that, then go ahead. Go ahead. We'll see how that works out. But like I said, they have an opportunity right now. There is a guy who is a top 5 running back that is on the market right now and can immediately, I don't know, well, maybe not immediately, but as the season goes on, he can impact this team in a positive way to where you're not going to get the same levels of production that you would have gotten with Nick Chubb if Nick Chubb was healthy. But you're going to have a similar type of production to Nick Chubb that you would not get with Jerome Ford or Pierre Strong or Kareem Hunt. And that's not going to happen with the current guys that they have in the running back room. It's just not. I think Jerome Ford is a more of a threat as a receiving back than he is as like a traditional rusher. That's what I think of, because high school he was a wide receiver. Then he switched over to running back in college. So I definitely feel like if you do get Jonathan Taylor, you can keep him as a number 1 back, and then as the number 2 back, if you want to put in Jerome Ford as as a receiving back out of the backfield, or maybe put him in the slot, I definitely think that makes him a lot more of a scary type of player than just having him be your number 1 back. That's just my thing. But like I said, the problem that we have with Jonathan Taylor right now is, one, he didn't go through training camp with the Colts. He sat out waiting for a contract. We saw how that worked out with Josh Jacobs, who has not been that great to begin the year with Vegas. He was one of the top 5 rushers in the league before he sat out, and he's been not as great as he was. Kareem Hunt was the same thing last year. Sat out for a couple of days in training camp, and he never got his stride. So that's a thing that I think we have to keep in mind with Jonathan Taylor, is that he sat out multiple weeks, hasn't played in 4 weeks. He hasn't played a football game. We don't even know if he's going to play this week, so he could be out for 5 weeks. That's definitely a thing that we have to think about. And then, of course, the contract. What's he going to want? Because obviously, with the Browns, you're not going to sign him long term because you already have Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb's going to come back next season. So if he's looking for a long-term contract, then sorry, you can't come here. As simple as that. But do I think the Browns should at least explore the opportunity to get Jonathan Taylor and at least have some discussions with the Colts for him? Yes, I definitely think that they should be doing that. But yeah, that's my take on the Jonathan Taylor thing. But let's move on to the final segment of the show. Like I said, we're going to be here a little bit shorter. We're going to have a shorter episode today. But the final segment of the show is Week 5 predictions. I understand I didn't do it last night. I just had a lot of stuff going on. I had a midterm and a lot of other stuff going on with with school and my job. But we're going to be doing it today. We have Week 5 NFL predictions minus the Thursday Night Football game. So let's continue, or at least let's begin with the Week 5 predictions with the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Buffalo Bills. Jaguars are coming in after their win in London against the Falcons, excuse me, sorry. And They're going to be playing in London again against the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to take Buffalo to win in this one. They absolutely dominated the Dolphins last week. I don't see the Jaguars, you know, staying in it that much. At least, um, their offense has been sputtering the last couple of weeks. Ever since that Colts game, their offense has not been clicking for whatever reason. Jacksonville's. But Buffalo looks like a scary team right now. Josh Allen, after the horrible game that he had against the Jets, he's been playing a lot better. So I'm definitely going to take the Bills to win in this one in London. Yeah, definitely take the Bills in this one. Next up, this is actually a very intriguing matchup because we have the Houston Texans taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Texans are coming in and they're drubbing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Falcons are coming in on their loss from London against the Jaguars. I'm going to take the Texans to win in this one because I definitely think the Texans are a scary team right. I don't actually know. I don't want to say they're a scary team. They're a decent team. D'Amico Ryan down there is actually doing a really good job. I think he's, for me, I think he should be in contention for Coach of the Year right now. Obviously, it's 4 weeks, it's a small sample size, but right now what he's been doing with the Texans has been very impressive to watch. C.J. Stroud, his level of production has been insane to see. The Falcons, I think, are definitely a good team. They're just missing that quarterback. If they had literally like another quarterback on this roster, if they had someone like Jimmy G or something like that, I think definitely the Falcons have a shot to win. But they're at home. I definitely think it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a slugfest. But I'm going to have to go with the Texans to win in that one. Next up, we've got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Detroit Lions. I'm going to take the Lions to win in this one. They're coming off of their big win from Thursday night against the Packers. I definitely think the Lions are one of the best teams in the NFC. I definitely feel like they're going to be going for that NFC North title. I just think that they're a way better team than the Panthers. Panthers are going to be vying for the number one spot. Bryce Young has been having some struggles over there. Their offense has been not the best, coming off of their loss against the Vikings from last week. I just feel like the Panthers this season's not going to go the way they wanted to. I'm going to take the Lions to win pretty easily to win in this one. Next up, we've got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Colts are coming off their overtime loss against the Rams, and the Titans are coming off of their beatdown against the Cincinnati Bengals. This one, I think, is going to be a closer game. I really see it more of a low scoring game. I don't think really this is going to be a shootout. I would be surprised if it's a shootout. But if I have to pick one team, I think I'm going to go with the Titans to win. I just think Anthony Richardson, he's got some flashes, he's got some talent, but he's just wildly inaccurate right now. Still a raw prospect at this point. But yeah, the Titans, I think they're going to start getting into a groove. I think, Derrick Henry, having some success against the Bengals, their offense can maybe start to click at this point. But yeah, I'm going to take the Titans to win against the Colts in this one. Next up, we've got the New York Giants taking on the Dolphins. I'm probably going to take them to win in this one. I just think the Giants, Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback. Legitimately, it makes me laugh that the New York Giants decided to give him $40 million a season to play football, even though he only had one good year, and that was last year in 5 years of his career. So, not even 5 years, 4 years of his career. He's only had one good year in 4 years. So, it just makes me laugh. Obviously, there's some, contention in that locker room between him and Daboll, with the throwing of the Microsoft pad. So, obviously, definitely some contention and some tension there. But yeah, Dolphins are going to win pretty easily in my opinion. They're at home. It's going to be a bloodbath, I think, in Florida. Next up, we've got the New Orleans Saints taking on the New England Patriots. This one I think is going to be a toss-up, and I want to pick the Saints in this one. I think I'm going to pick the Saints. I'm not sold on Mac Jones. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game as well. Both offenses are struggling right now. But I have more faith in Derek Carr in order to get the job done, in order to get some points on the board than I do with Mac Jones. I definitely feel like Bill Belichick's going to be in the hot seat this year. I just don't see how the Patriots are gonna do with Mac Jones, and I just don't see them being that good of a football team. I think the Saints are a decent football team, but their offense needs to start clicking in order for them to take that next step in the NFC South. Next up, we've got the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett's going to try and play with that knee injury, but they said his mobility is not looking the best. I'm definitely going to take the Ravens. Lamar Jackson's been playing some pretty good football. But the only problem is that he's inconsistent right now. Um, yeah, I think the Ravens are a much better team with all their injuries still. They're a much better team than the Steelers. The Steelers' offense is legitimately terrible. They are not good. Um, I just think that the Ravens are going to be able to stop them on offense, and Lamar Jackson is going to be able to start doing some things against the Steelers. I just don't see them. I don't see how the Steelers can win this game, to be honest with you. Next up, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Arizona Cardinals. This game, if I had to choose anybody, if you had to tell me what game of the week was going to be a toss up, I definitely, would not have chosen this game, but I think game is a toss up. Joe Burrow is legitimately not playing good football at all. He cannot move. This offense is in a rut. T. Higgins is going to be out for this game. Jamar Chase has been complaining about his role on offense. Joe Mixon's not been playing good at all. I mean, the only thing that's been keeping this team sort of afloat is their defense. But their defense didn't play well last week against the Titans. The Cardinals had to face against the 49ers last week, and Josh Dobbs was pretty good in the second half or the first half. I don't remember which half he was great in, but he was good in one half. But I definitely feel like this game's a toss-up, and you know what? I'm going to take the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals can win this one. I definitely feel like it's going to be more of a low-scoring game. I don't think either team's going to blow each other out, but I definitely think the Cardinals can win in this one, and I just don't see how Joe Burrow is going to be as successful without T. Higgins, and he's not being able to move well enough around in the pocket. He can't roll out well enough. I just don't see what the Bengals are going to do. And I think if they fall down to 1-4, they're going to have to start having some discussions about whether they want to shut down Joe Burrow and put him on the IR. That's going to have to be a discussion that they have to make if they lose to this Cardinals team. Next up, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Rams in LA. I'm going to take the Eagles to win. I just think, the Rams, they're lucky to be 2-2. They won with Puka Nakua's touchdown in overtime against the Colts. I just think the Eagles, they're a much better team. Their offense still a little bit sputtering a little bit, but I definitely feel like they can win this game. I think they are going to win this game. I just think, the only thing is that we'll see how Aaron Donald does against that offensive line and Jason Kelce with the Eagles. But yeah, I think the Eagles are going to win this one pretty easily. Next up, we've got the New York Jets taking on the Denver Broncos. Oh boy, what a horrible game this is going to be. Definitely going to be a low-scoring game, probably a 14-10 game. I don't want to choose either team. I don't want to choose either team. If I have to choose one, I'm probably going to take the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to win, but I think it's going to be 14-10. I don't see this game going over, 30 points. I just don't. I don't see that happening. The Jets, I think they played very well against the Chiefs, but I think that was more of an emotional game than anything. I just don't see how this game is going to be that much, that high scoring. But if I had to choose one team, I'm choosing the Broncos. Next up, we've got the Kansas City Taylor Swifts taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, the T-Swifts coming in with their win against the Jets. The Vikings are coming in with their win against the Panthers. Obviously, I'm going to take the Taylor Swifts. They're just a much better football team. I know, for the love of God, can the NFL please stop showing us Taylor Swift at all the games? I just do not want to see this happening. I just do not want to see Taylor Swift in the loge boxes anymore. I do not care. Nobody cares. They need to stop doing it. But I know my telephone's ringing, my house phone's ringing, so I apologize about that. But Minnesota still not having a good season. Their defense is terrible. Offense, I think Kirk Cousins has the most touchdowns in the NFL right now, but they're still like really bad. Um, I'm just, it's essentially Patrick Mahomes versus Kirk Cousins. Who are you gonna pick? I'm picking Patrick Mahomes. Um, yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs are gonna win in this one. Next up, we've got actually a pretty decent game I'm looking forward to. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to take the 49ers to win pretty easily, I think. Dak does not play well against the 49ers at all. I just think that the 49ers all around are the best football team in the NFL. Cowboys, I think, are going to struggle against this defense. Dak Prescott, I think, has like 240 yards a game or something like that, or at least the over under the for the game for Dak is 240 yards. I just don't see how Dallas is going to win this game. Brock Purdy has not lost a regular season game. I just don't see how the Cowboys are going to win. I think the 49ers are going to win pretty easily on Sunday night. But then finally, the Monday night matchup. We only got one this time, but it is the Green Bay Packers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Definitely an interesting game. Jimmy G, we'll see if he plays, but it could be Aiden O'Connell versus Jordan Love. I'm going to take the Packers to win reluctantly. I don't think either team is that good. But I think Jordan Love and the Packers have a better chance to win against the Raiders. The Raiders' defense is not good, especially their pass defense. They're not that good. I definitely feel like it's going to be more of like a 24-20 game if Jimmy G plays. We'll see. Maybe like a 23-17 game. But yeah, I definitely feel like the Packers can win in this one pretty easily. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that much of an exciting game, to be honest with you. But I think the Packers come out of this Monday night with a win. But anyway, that is going to be it for the Week 5 predictions. So thank you guys so much for watching with that. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and yeah, I'll see you guys all in another video. Take care. Okay. That's it for the Week 5 prediction. But yeah, anyways, that is going to do it for today's show. We'll be posting the Week 5 prediction video here very shortly. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's episode 4 for Coming Off the Bench. Thank you guys so much for coming out here and watching, whether you joined live or you're watching here on demand on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for coming out here on your Friday afternoon. Hopefully you guys have had a great Friday. And yeah, I will talk to you guys all later on this weekend. And we'll talk about, the Browns and the 49ers getting ready for that big game, that crucial game for the Cleveland Browns. But anyways, without further ado, I will stop talking.